Alright, this is my second try at my video. The first one did not upload correctly, so this is my week 4 presentation when we were doing the elephant toothpaste experiment for our interactive concept, and I'm going to start my presentation now. So these are the materials I used. I used this blue Dawn dish soap, hydrogen peroxide, red food coloring, rapid rise highly active yeast, and this little cup filled with warm water and a spoon to mix the yeast in. So this is how I conducted the experiment. For step 1, I poured some hydrogen peroxide into that small glass over there. And for step 2, I added a few drops of dish soap. Step 3, I added a few drops of food coloring. And clearly on the right is pictured the red food coloring inside the hydrogen peroxide with some dish soap, so that is after step 3 I took that picture. And step 4, in a separate cup that I showed in the prior slide, I mixed the yeast with the warm water and the spoon until combined completely. Step 5, I poured that yeast mixture into the container of the mixed materials pictured on the right. For the results of my experiment, I got what is pictured on the right here. I would say that my experiment somewhat worked. I did get that foamy, bubbly substance that I was anticipating on getting from watching the video, but the way the reaction happened, it was kind of slow, and I was expecting it to kind of like bubble up really fast like in the video, and that didn't happen. And it also only got that high in the glass, and that's like not a very tall glass, so I think next time I would probably do some things a little different. When I thought about it, I thought there could possibly be a few reasons for why my results turned out the way that they did. Maybe I did a wrong measurement of materials. So the hydrogen peroxide I had on hand, first of all, it was only the 3%, so it was like the least strong hydrogen peroxide, so I wasn't expecting like a huge explosion. But I was expecting it to go, a little bit quicker. And I also didn't have that much of it, so I kind of altered the amount of substances I put into the solution so that I could, kind of measure it out the way they did in the video with just a smaller amount. And I think that could have been one of the issues. Also, I was looking at the yeast and it was expired. I didn't really think that would be an issue considering it said it would rise faster, but it didn't technically like say that it was bad if it was expired, but I guess that could have played a factor in it. So this is the science as to why this experiment is supposed to work. So the yeast contains an enzyme called catalase, and this catalase breaks down the hydrogen peroxide into oxygen, gas, and water. And this is a process that hydrogen peroxide will naturally break down into these products anyway, but because the yeast is acting as a catalyst or otherwise catalyzing the reaction, speeding it up, it's supposed to happen much quicker when you add the yeast. And the soap plays a part in this experiment because it traps the oxygen gas into the tiny little bubbles, and going back, you can kind of see these little bubbles in the top right photo. I did get some of them and it was very visible, but I didn't get very many. And I also looked into this experiment a little bit, and it did say in the video that it is supposed to get hot. I didn't specifically touch the substance because I didn't know how hot it was going to get, and they were wearing gloves. But I did look up why exactly it got hot, and it's because the reaction in this experiment is an exothermic reaction. And what this basically means is that when the reaction happens, it releases energy through heat. And down there on the bottom, I showed the equation where the reactants, they go to the products and they also produce energy, but that energy produced in this case is heat. So that is my experiment for this week. Obviously, it could have gone a little bit better, but knowing that there are some factors I could have done differently, next time I conduct this experiment, I will make sure to change those a bit. So yeah. Thank you guys.